Hello!
Where are they?
My name is Gabriel Galway,
Where are they?
and this is the Ugly Goblin.
That wasn't exactly what I had in mind when,
I thought I would try something new in this video and reveal my face, but also editing much longer videos is quite tricky, especially when you're working with like 10-second clips. So I thought I'd help myself out by giving myself some more material to work with. And yeah, hopefully I can continue to make longer videos now by just filming myself. So today in this video, we are looking into skill trees. So for anyone who is a fan of like Final Fantasy, The Witcher games, Dragon Age, Cyberpunk, God of War, any of those, you know what a skill tree is. These all contain skill trees, but for anyone who's not familiar with skill trees, they are a progression table of sorts that award new abilities as you level up throughout the game. And it often starts as like a small number of abilities that you have a limited selection of, but then as you level up and you learn and unlock certain abilities, the skill tree connects you to new, stronger abilities that relate back to the ones that you currently own. So each branch of a skill tree is then typically themed. In The Witcher, for example, in a combat skill tree, they have a branch of it that focuses primarily on light attacks. So then obviously the more you progress through the light attack branch of that skill tree, the more you can do with light attacks and the stronger they get. So the skill trees that I have created simulate that same gimmick. You might be wondering, like, why would I use skill trees when there's like a perfectly good leveling system in D&D already? But I did touch on it briefly in my previous video. If you haven't seen my video on how to run high level campaigns, it's up here probably somewhere, or over there, I don't know where it's going to be. I use these skill trees to make my players feel stronger. And it allows them to do a lot more things at higher level, because towards the end of the game, like all the end game abilities that you get in D&D are a little lackluster in my opinion. And especially like in comparison to the world-ending threats that your players will be dealing with at the stage of the game. So I thought today I would go into a little more detail on how I use these tables and how to progress in them, and also how to mix and match the tables that I have to tailor them to fit your players and the flavoring that they have going on for their characters. So these skill trees, they will not only make your players feel much more powerful, but they'll hopefully also enrich the identity of their characters and the play style that they've been developing throughout the course of this campaign so far. I've already mentioned, but I would recommend using these skill trees at higher levels. For example, like level 15, I think is a nice sweet spot to reveal these skill trees to your players. However, if you are looking to just have a very high tier campaign with lower level characters, you can absolutely use these skill trees for that if you want to throw loads of crazy monsters at them and stuff. But it also works really well, I think, hopefully I think, for a classless campaign too. And I might make another video on that, on how I would use these skill trees in a classless campaign. So let me know if you are interested in something like that. So when you first introduce this concept of the high tier skill tree to your players, I'd recommend doing it when they level up. First of all, maybe first time they reach level 15, and maybe describe to them how their physical and mental limits have now been completely broken, and there's no heights that they can't reach anymore. They have gone above and beyond what is physically and mentally capable for mortal beings to achieve, and there is no longer a level cap or an ability cap for them. So they can go beyond level 20 and go beyond 20 in their abilities from now on. Along with that, they get 3 legendary actions, which they can use in a day. So they recharge on a long rest. And you can use these actions to either take an action, a bonus action, or a movement outside of your turn. Or you can spend them on a legendary ability, which you as a DM, or they will get from their DM. It'll be assigned to them, or maybe they can pick it out. So, editing Gabriel here. You might notice that a lot of the abilities in the skill trees that I talk about here are very specific abilities. And that is because they've all been tailor-made for each individual player in a 7-year campaign that I've been running for my players for some time. So they are all very specific abilities, but in this video I will show you how to tailor them to fit your own characters and how to reflavor them and all that. So stick with it and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, goodbye. So for players who like to move quickly, or perhaps have like an elemental theme to their character, the lightning step is a really nice one for them. Obviously the lightning side of things can be swapped out entirely for some other elemental damage that your player specializes in, but essentially the way this ability works is your character bounds off the grounds at such immense speeds due either to an eruption of elemental power from below their feet, or simply just because they're that fast at this level, which I think is pretty cool. To the mortal eye, they are just a bolt of energy streaking past, suddenly appearing about 100 feet from where they left off. To everyone else, it seems like they teleported, but for like mechanical standpoints, this is like a non-magical form of teleportation. And then anyone that player passes through is subjected to something similar to like a lightning bolt spell. Obviously, again, you can remove the lightning or reflavor it in some other way, but essentially everyone gets hit by a lightning bolt spell that they pass through. So talking about all this, hopefully it gives you a nice sense of just how powerful your players will be once they get their hands on these high boon tables. Now, secondly, along with the legendary actions, the players also unlock Boon Points, which is a type of currency that you spend on these skill trees. And so when they first unlock the skill trees, they get 3 Boon Points and get 3 more every time they level up after that. So taking a look at the table here, you can see that there are 3 columns. Each column is then broken up into different rows, and each column is themed differently. And then each row within a column represents a different tier of progression within that specific column. So for example, you've got the body yada yada column, which is focused on this supercharged form that your character takes every time they use their legendary action. Typically, what works nicely with this is the lightning step ability. So the cost to unlock an ability and use it just above the ability. So here, for example, it says boon cost 1, or in this case over here, it says each ability costs 1 boon point. So I could spend 1 boon point in this ability here, for example, to increase my dexterity score by 2 whenever I'm supercharged. And the requirements and the rules for a supercharged state are explained just above here. So this little bracketed area at the end of an ability shows how many times you can spend a boon point in this particular ability. So for example, if I spend an additional 2 boon points in this ability, this effect that increases my dexterity score by 2 increases it 2 more times when I'm supercharged. But I can't spend more than 3 boon points in this particular ability. And so the maximum boost I can get to my dexterity score when I'm supercharged is 6. So below this row in the body yada yada column is the second tier of this branch, of this column. But in order to have access to the abilities in this row, I need to spend at least 3 boon points in the row just above it to unlock this one. So let's say I spend all 3 of my boon points when I first unlock this skill tree in the ability that increases my dexterity. Now I have access to the next row below this one. So when I get access to more boon points later on, I can now spend them in any of the abilities within the next tier of this column or any tier above it too. I cannot, however, spend any boon points in the second tier of either of the other 2 columns. That was, yeah.
That's good content.
In order to do that, I would need to have spent at least 3 boon points on abilities in those columns to unlock the next tier below them. And obviously, as you can imagine, the abilities in each tier get better and better as you progress through them. So by the time you reach the final tier of the body, like I'm just going to call it like the body column, body column. By the time you reach the final tier of the body column, you get access to an ability called Pure Energy. Once you spend the required 6 boon points to unlock this ability, you become impervious to all damage and are immune to all conditions while you're in your supercharged form. So it's pretty busted stuff. But it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty neat. You're made up of pure energy moving at lightning speeds, and nothing can touch you, nothing can harm you. And I just think that's really cool. And I think at this stage, it's also well deserved, like it's well earned. Like it takes a while to get there. And at that level and at that power level that they're at when they unlock this ability, they would have already reached a level of semi-godhood anyway. This is just a nice way to give them more mechanical, juicy stats to make them feel more godly. Now, in terms of mixing and matching these abilities, I've created quite a few skill trees that you can work with, and you can feel free to mix and match any of the columns, mix them all up to make something that will fit your players, that will feel more personal. My only advice is that when you're mixing and matching these columns, is that you assign a complementary legendary action to the skill tree that you make, the new skill tree that you make. Some columns in particular skill trees are themed specifically around using a particular legendary action. But another workaround for this is that you could give your players 3 corresponding legendary actions to the 3 different columns that you give them in their skill tree. And then they could spend maybe 2 or 3 boon points to unlock a legendary action and get access to the skill tree below it. Or, it doesn't have to be a hard requirement that they buy the legendary action. Some abilities will require it and it might be more necessary, but others might be complemented if you take the legendary action, but it's not essential. But you might also find that one of your players just really invests heavily in legendary actions and just wants to buy all the legendary actions. And in that case, you could just give them access to all the legendary actions. It's like getting a new feat every time they level up. And I don't think it would be overpowered necessarily because they only have 3 legendary actions they can spend in a day, but it's like Wizard having access to more spells in their spell book or something. There's a lot of potential in here, and hopefully there's enough skill trees that already exist to help you make up ones for yourself. Or if you just want to make something completely from scratch, hopefully there's enough inspiration there for you to draw from. I've tried to make it so that you can also print these out and like cut up each column and rearrange them, and then you'll have something physical for your players to write and edit as they progress through the campaign, which is always nice to have something tangible. But yeah, that is skill trees for you. Let me know what you think of them, and if you see yourself using any of these skill trees in your games, or if you have some other system in place for high level play. If you haven't checked it out, do have a look at my video on running high tier campaigns, where I do go into a lot more details on how I would run high tier campaigns if you're looking for a little more help with that. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for everyone who's been supporting me so far. I've already almost reached 300 subscribers, which is crazy. It's so cool. And it was like 2 weeks ago that I was 100 subscribers, and that took me like 2 months. So this is really cool that it's just like there's more and more people supporting me. So thank you so much for that. I'd still love to know and talk about your games, how they're going. Have you just started D&D? Or if you've been running a long-term campaign, how long has it been going on for? What kind of characters you have? Yeah, it's always nice chatting to you all in the comments and finding what kind of games you've got going on, what kind of tips you have. Some of you have amazing tips, so thank you for those. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please, if you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, comment down below to let me know what you think of these high tier boon tables and or skill trees. And yeah, I'll see you in another video. Goodbye.